Hi, Matt with eTrailer. If you have a 2016 Volvo XC90 and you're looking for something that's more on the entry-level side so you can carry those rooftop accessories, then the Malone AirFlow2 roof racks is going to be a great option for you. So let's check it out. This roof rack, like many other ones out there, is going to excel at carrying those extra long items and also freeing up some space inside your XC90. And where this one really shines is it's a great entry-level roof rack because it is a little bit more economical and it has a lot of features built into it already. It's going to be great because it's also going to let you carry those longer items like kayak or skis, and even bikes can get up here too, or boxes or baskets. So this really opens up a lot of opportunities for you. Now, to make sure this kit will work for you, if you come over here by your rails, you should be able to get your hand underneath here. If you can't, then this kit will not work for you because it only works with raised rail kits. And there will be other options out there, so if you come over here and you can just grab around here but not get your hand underneath that rail, you have a flush rail, and if there's no rail whatsoever, you're going to have a naked roof. You can also plug in your vehicle's information into our fit guide to find the right option for you too. And now we can really focus on what comes with this kit. So it's going to come in two parts. It's going to have the 50-inch Malone crossbars, and below that, we're going to have the tower. Now let's just focus on the crossbar. So with the crossbar, we're going to have this arrow shape to it. That's going to help it be more aerodynamic. And something else that's going to help it be more aerodynamic is going to be this weather strip. And this weather strip is going to prevent a lot of wind from going through in here, and it's also going to prevent any debris from getting in here too. Now, we've had ours in the shop for a long time, so we have this gap here, but when you get yours, you'll be able to modify it to make sure it covers this whole section. And the reason why a T-channel is great is if you have any T-channel accessories. There's just going to be a block that slides into this channel right here. It's also perfect if you have any clamp-on accessories that just won't work at a certain point, like if it matches up directly over your tower, no clamp-on accessory will be able to work with that. Instead, using a T-channel will help you out in that situation. And to make things easier, we're also going to have this little opening at the very end so you can load your gear up easier too. And looking at the tower, this is actually going to attach to your crossbar via another T-channel at the bottom. And what I like about this is this actually comes with a lock core. A lot of the more premium options are going to have lock cores sold separately. So that's nice that we're getting this all in one thing. And if I unlock this and take this out, we're going to have two types of lock cores, a regular one and then one with an Allen key. And what this Allen key is doing is that's going to be the tool used to tighten down your tower to your rails. I like that this is built in. It just kind of keeps everything in one spot, less likely to lose anything. The one issue I do have with this though is when you try to tighten this down, in some situations, you might run into the issue where that lock core is hitting your crossbar. It's not going to be very much, but it's definitely something that can happen. And if we look at how it's fitting or grabbing onto our rails, this right now is an okay fit. And what I mean by that is, if you look underneath here, we can see there's this gap, and that's going to let some wind through there, so you might get a little bit of wind noise from that, and it's okay. I think it's still doing a great job holding on. We still have the bottom lip grabbing onto your rail. Now, if you're not a big fan of how that's looking or grabbing on around your rails, then there are some more custom looking options out there that's going to give you more of an OEM finish. One of which is going to be the Rhinorack roof rack. That's going to be the ones with the stealth bars. And what's nice about that is they're going to be custom to fit the distance from rail to rail, so you won't have any overhang, and it's going to grab really nicely around these raised rails. But that's also going to be at a much more premium price range, so it's going to be the better looking option overall, but the more premium option too. Now we can get a few measurements just to see how this is going to live up here. So the first distance I'm going to get is from your roof to the bottom of that crossbar, and that's going to be about 3 inches. So that lets you know how much space you have underneath and whether or not you have enough room to work with any type of clamps. most clamps will work with that distance. Now, it is important to note that if you have a sunroof, then that might change. Right now we have that sunroof extended up, and now we're only going to have a distance of 2 inches there, which isn't too bad. If you have more slim style clamps, they should work fine. Just definitely check if your accessories are going to make contact with your sunroof, and if they are, then you might not be able to use it or open it up. And for the total height is going to add to our vehicle. If we actually go from the rails themselves, that is going to add just about 3 inches to your roof. So really, that's not too bad. What I recommend doing is taking the total height of the vehicle, crossbars, and then anything on top of that, just so you know what areas you can make it under. The spot to really think about would be a garage. The last measurement I like to get is going to be the overhang. So if we get that, that's going to be about 5.5 inches, which is honestly pretty good. So if you have any items that you want to put at the very edge, anything like a ski carrier or a kayak carrier, you should have plenty of room to do so. That's just going to make loading and unloading them a lot easier. And it's close enough where you're unlikely going to be to hit your head on it. Now for the weight capacity, that's most likely going to be limited to your roof. So I'd recommend going from the lowest rated component, and you can actually find that number in your manual. Now if you are curious to see what this installation looks like, it's pretty easy and straightforward, but we kind of tackle some tricks and tips for you. So if you just stay tuned, we'll walk you through the process. To start off the installation, I like to lay everything out. So closest to me, we're going to have the towers. We're also going to have the crossbar and then the end caps. You'll have just a regular one and then one with this built-in Allen key. And we'll have our included key to lock everything up. And what I recommend grabbing is a tape measure so we can square off your bars. Now you'll probably notice I already have my rear crossbar installed, but it's going to be the same process for either one. And where I like to start off is with the crossbar. So if your towers are already installed, you're good. You don't have to do anything else at this point. Now, if they're not installed, then what we're going to do is flip over our crossbars, take off this end cap just by pulling on it. You might have to wiggle it around a bit. It'll slide right off. And then we're going to take our tower. So with this tower, you're going to notice we have these blocks on top, and these blocks are actually going to slide into that channel. So I actually like to put them on from the same side. So we want to put it on in the opposite direction for the first one, and that's just going to slide into that channel, just like so. And what I'm going to do is push this all the way to the other side. And I'll grab my second one, face it in the opposite direction, where you have that bolt facing outwards. And it's going to be the same process, sliding that on too. And once you get both into place, we're just going to grab our end cap and slide that back on. And before we put this on top of our roof, if we take a look at this gap right here, this is going to be the clamp that wraps around your rail. And if you think it's too narrow to do that, then what I recommend is coming over here to the very edge where we have that bolt inside that end cap, and just loosen that up a tad bit, and that will expand this clamp some so you can get it around your rails. And when you put this on top of your roof, you want to make sure it's in the right orientation. So we want to make sure that this thicker side is facing forward and the thinner side is facing behind me. Once you've established that, we can put it up top, and we're just going to line up those towers or those clamps with your rails. Now this doesn't have to be perfect when you start off. We can adjust it later on. And there's going to be 2 measurements we want to get right now. The first one is going to be where this tower sits on your rail. So the trick to this is finding one point on your roof that's going to be the same on either side. So a lot of times I'll just use a seam for the door. And what I'll do is just try to get that either lined up, or if I'm wanting to use the space instead, I'll get a measurement to find what's going to work best for me. I just need to ensure that's the same process I do on either side. Once that is squared off, then you repeat that process for your rear crossbar. Only at that point, I'd actually recommend using your front crossbar or your rear crossbar as that point you measure from, so you can not only get everything squared, but you can also get your crossbar spread that way too. And from here, I'm going to get my overhang. So that's just going to be the distance from our tower to the end of that crossbar. And right now, I can already tell we're going to need to make some major adjustments. So what I'm going to do is just grab on to the tower or crossbar and pull it out or push it in some. I'll measure it again, and I'll just double check to make sure it's the same measurement on either side. We can finally tighten everything down, and to do that, we're going to grab this Allen key that's on the end of that lock core. And from here, we're really just going to find that bolt we found earlier and tighten it into place. Now, I will say right off the bat, this can get a little bit annoying sometimes, just depending on how much overhang you have. This is just slightly hitting the end of the crossbar right now, which isn't too bad, but as I tighten this down, it's probably going to hit a little bit more. So if you have a longer Allen key, this is probably going to help you out a little bit more than using this built-in one. Now, I'd recommend doing this until you just find a little bit of resistance when the tower is just starting to clamp around your rail, just making that initial contact, and then repeating this step on the other side. Because if you tighten one side too much, then it's going to give you an uneven fit. So just taking time going back and forth is going to be the best approach. You'll eventually reach a point where you find a lot of resistance, and this is probably going to be a good time where you can stop. At this point, you can just push that lock core back into place and lock it up. With this locked up, just double check it is going to secure properly, and then give it a good shake test. You can just kind of pull on it, make sure it's not going to go anywhere. And if that feels secure, then you can take it out for a ride and load it up with whatever accessories you have and take it out. And that was just a look at some of the features and the installation of the Malone AirFlow2 roof rack on top of our 2016 Volvo XC90. I'm Matt. Thanks for watching.